Yeah, I like being able to take the piss out of stuff just enough where it's like palatable, but then also being like, but at the end of the day, this is very serious.
Yeah, just so you know,
Just so you
here's
know.
the help hotline.
So, you know,
but
we are laughing and we are poking fun at this, but we also acknowledge that it's a very real thing, and also in this case happens to be something that we both deal with. So if not us, then who?
Then who?
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of My Body, My Jokes. I'm Morgan Gallo. I'm here with Rosalie. And if you don't know who that is, go listen to the last episode because we just did an amazing interview with her. And I'm really excited to go on with this episode because today, Rosalie and I are going to talk about something that I feel like is a phrase that is tossed out a lot. A lot of people don't know a ton about, and it's kind of just like laid in our culture in this weird way. So we're going to talk about body dysmorphia.
Yay.
Yay! Oh my
Yay.
God.
Oh
This
my
is so
God.
great. Just some light conversation if you ever want to, call your Nana and ask her what that's
Yeah,
about.
if you ever want to get Nana's opinion on body dysmorphia, she
Yeah, I'm
probably
sure
gave it
she'd
to
have a
you,
great
but-
I'm sure she'd have a great opinion.
Yeah.
But if you want to support the show, feel free to rate and review on whatever you're listening on, watch on YouTube, play it in the background. Just honestly keep your phone open and just play it and then walk away. That would be sick. But I just did an amazing interview with Rosalie that you should go listen to last week. So today we're going to be kind of diving into this topic. The first thing that I want to ask you, Rosalie, is, in your own words, what would you describe? What is body dysmorphia to you?
In my own words, I would describe it as it is the sensation and perception that you have about yourself and certain parts of yourself that are made bigger and honestly in some ways more horrible than they actually are and how other people perceive them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's how I would describe it too. So when I looked this up, really what I think is kind of this like confusing thing is body dysmorphia is the layman term, but like body dysmorphic disorder is kind of the like medical term that people like psychologists use to describe the disorder. And it's defined as a mental health condition in which you can't stop thinking about one or more perceived defects in your appearance, something that appears minor and can't be seen by others. You might feel embarrassed, ashamed, anxious. You might avoid social situations. Which seems pretty on par.
Yeah.
Right? Like a defect of some kind, whether maybe it's too big, maybe it's too small, maybe it's long, short, whatever it is. What has your experience been with body dysmorphia?
I was thinking about this when you told me what we were going to be talking about. And for me, it's interesting that I can kind of separate my gender dysphoria from my body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Because they overlap a lot and they do kind of like play off of each other, but in their own way, they are each their own kind of nightmare.
Yeah. Wow.
And dysmorphia for me, that's been a part of me most of my life, if I'm being honest. Because like growing up, I was always taller than everyone. So that was a big part of it. But when I was like little, I had a metabolism that people would kill for.
Yeah.
Like nothing could stay on me.
Yeah.
I could eat anything I wanted, as much as I wanted, and still just be like rail thin skinny. And then that stopped. And it also correlated with my mom and sister. They were always like, diet culture was a huge part of my like upbringing.
Love it.
Yeah, it's super fun. I definitely recommend it for kids like ages 3 and 5. Good time to get them started.
Yeah.
So that was always something that was happening around me, was watching people go through like different diets and like not being happy with their physical appearance.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. And then I don't know if it started to impact me or if I had it for myself and it just kind of got worse with what was around me. But I did start to like gain weight and I got to be pretty chubby. But when I would comment on it, my parents would be like, "No, you're not. You're fine.
Oh,
You're thin.
okay.
You're okay. No." we have to worry about this. Like, but like, no, you can keep on doing whatever you want. You're fine. And I was like, okay, I don't think that's true, but I guess I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
And you know, that just didn't go away. I kept on getting heavier and heavier and bigger and taller and things like that, and just taking up more space.
Right.
At a time of your life where you don't want to take up any space.
No.
You want to be small and just like as close to invisible as humanly possible when you're in middle school.
Yep.
That was not my case for me. It was not working out that way at all, physically. So, yeah, I've always struggled with like being heavier. And, you know, where it starts to overlap into dysphoria for me is something I'm still dealing with in like my adulthood and still trying to figure out how to like deprogram a little bit. So there's all sorts of stuff like beyond just like being tall. Yeah, there's plenty of tall women out there. There's tons of tall women out there. It's that's not as rare as I think it is. But like, you know, I have my stuff like now where like I'm very sensitive about like my brow bone and like my forehead. I have a more like predominant like brow bone, which is a traditionally like masculine feature. Okay. And I've always been very sensitive about it. And that's why, like, you know, I wear my hair with like bangs and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, you know, so I counteract it that way. Yeah. But when I say it to people, they give me that same literally looking look at you that you are giving me right now, being like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Rosalie?" And I'm like, no. I have this shelf sticking out from my head like a Neanderthal in a museum.
That's so interesting.
And and that's how I see it, but no one else does. And for a long time, I was like, are y'all just gaslighting me? Are y'all just trying to make me feel stupid?
I know. It's one of those things. It's like, are you just trying to like make me feel better because you're my friend? And it's like, no, you're actually being dumb.
Like, no, I actually do not see what you are talking about.
Yeah. I
don't perceive that at all with you.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, like, you know, I have gotten better with that one and like dealing with it in my own way. Sometimes it still catches me off guard, and then I have to just like kind of tell myself like, that's not real. Yeah. And then move on.
You do have to, you have to fight the voice and be like, that's not a part of me. That's like something else.
That has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Like, that's what I have to do with my eating disorder voice. I'm like, that's just Ed. He's just talking.
That's nothing.
He's just talking. I found this really interesting because, and you and I talked about how infuriating this like statistic is, but according to the Mayo Clinic, the percentage of people that suffer from body dysmorphic disorder is 1% of the general population.
Let me tell you why that pisses me off, okay? That number seems shockingly low.
Oh,
in my opinion. But then again, for the number of times that we hear people use this word and talk about these things, it seems like the number should be higher.
But I think that's why there might be a difference between what we perceive as body dysmorphia and what is diagnosed as body dysmorphic disorder. Because I think for a lot of us, body dysmorphia is just like, we think we are bigger than we are. And that's usually how it like manifests. But I think the disorder is more like, it could be you think you're bigger, or it could be a whole other number of perceived defects, even if it's like having a mole that you think is whatever. And so it says there are like varying reports. And I think there was another hospital that had reported that it's actually as high as 2.5% of women and 2.2% of men.
That I would sign off on.
Yeah, that seems a little bit more accurate. Although I would be very curious who took this survey, because I don't remember being asked. And I don't understand where those numbers come from. You know what I mean? Because like, I just re-entered TikTok, and I am using it to promote the pod, and I post all my clips and whatever. So my algorithm is very ED recovery, body positive, anti-diet culture, whatever. And the amount of times that I see the word body dysmorphia is insane, to the point where I'm like, there's no way that this is just 2.5% of women. That's crazy.
That's got to be higher for women.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But then again, I did see something that said because people who suffer from it don't necessarily go to seek treatment, it's not really a reportable statistic. It's not something where they can be like, oh, we know every single human in America that has BDD. Like, we have the stats. It's more like we just kind of experience it in varying degrees, and then we move on with our life and just kind of sweep it under the rug or deal with it or whatever.
And then like, I think as far as like those numbers for like men, that still seems a little low to me. But then I also think like, well, we don't really teach men to share their discomforts with themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, which is a whole other problem.
Which is a whole other nightmare that we really have to work on debunking.
Which is also a symptom of the patriarchy. A lot of men don't think that. We all suffer under the patriarchy. It's not just women.
We all really do. And I really hope that Barbie would have gotten that across last summer, but I think it missed the mark a little bit.
Girl,
Like,
she got so close.
She got so close.
But it was
so close.
It was, you could tell that it was dulled down ever so slightly for like executives to approve it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It had to get greenlit for
Yeah,
sure.
it had to get greenlit.
But yeah, because I mean, like, I've had guy friends that have definitely like said and like shared stuff with me about their physical appearance. That I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, no, I hate my legs. I hate my teeth. I hate my nose. My nose is huge. My nose sticks to my whole face. I'm like, I think your nose is like a very attractive feature of you. I don't think it's that big or anything like that. And they're like, no. And I'm like, have you talked to anyone about these like thoughts and feelings outside of just like healthy venting?
Yeah.
And he's like,
no, why would I do that?
Why would I do that? And I'm like,
I know. And
just think about it.
It's so sad because there is obviously a beauty standard for both men and women.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the industry that surrounds the beauty standard around women is a multi-billion-dollar industry, so that we suffer a little bit more. Whereas men have more of the idea of like needing to be tall, needing to be muscular, needing to have a full head of hair, a full beard,
a great
whatever.
Jawline.
Yeah, great. Like things that are very specific. But they do get the benefit of like, if you're an ugly dude, it's almost like okay because it's like a personality quirk.
Yeah, it's abstract.
It's like, ooh, he's an ugly guy, but I like him. It's like so weird.
I have to say that I hate when people describe really men as being like medium ugly men. I think that's
mean. What is
mean.
that term? That's so, that is really mean.
I think it's so mean. I think it's so backhanded. That and like over this past summer, what was it? They were like, it's rat boy summer. We're into the boys that look like rats.
What the fuck was that about?
And I'm like, okay, we as women cannot expect for things to just magically get better for us when we are trying to do this really unnecessary reverse psychology and turning it back on them. We're just doing the same thing.
It's still body shaming.
It's still body shaming.
Yeah.
It's still rude as fuck. And also, look in the mirror. Like, are you not rat girl summer? Like,
I don't even know what that means.
They like use it to describe like Timothy Chalamet, and I was like, what the?
Oh, because he's like small and scrawny.
I guess like there. It was a way to describe like small, scrawny men. Which I thought we had that covered with like short kings. I think short kings is perfectly. I think it's lovely. I love a short king. I want a short king.
That's so random. Rat boys. Oh my god,
I hate boy summer, and I saw that, and I was like,
everyone.
this is so fucking like this is just as toxic.
Oh yeah, it's extremely toxic.
Yeah.
Well, then what happens to the men that see that online and then they're like, oh my god, am I a rat boy?
Am I a rat boy?
Not even a mouse boy, a rat boy.
Exactly.
That's so much worse.
It's another way of feeding into this overall problem.
Yeah.
While thinking that you are taking charge of it and making it better by doing it. And it's like, that's not how that works. If you want something to stop, you have to stop it.
Yeah.
Which is hard. I will give you that.
See, we're defending men on this podcast.
Yeah,
we defend them sometimes.
Sometimes, every once in a while.
We throw you a bone.
Every now and then.
The symptoms that are associated with BDD, according to the Mayo Clinic, are, I picked a few that I felt like were the strongest. Being extremely preoccupied with a perceived flaw, obviously. Strong belief that you have a defect in your appearance that makes you ugly or deformed. Engaging in behaviors aimed at fixing or hiding the perceived flaw, like checking in the mirror, grooming, skin picking, cosmetic surgeries, and then avoiding social situations.
Ding, 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 ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding,
I
ding.
win. Yep.
And your prize is a trip to the psych ward. Yeah. It's really interesting because that's like, to me, those seem really mild. I'm like, yeah, don't we all kind of have that?
I think we all definitely have a degree of it. The thing that I think a lot of people are getting confused with is like, if you're having a bad hair day, that's not dysmorphia.
That's not body dysmorphia.
That's not what that is.
Yeah.
Because that is something that you can change so quickly.
Yeah.
You know, this, in my experience with it, it is things that just eat at your psyche. You know? And like, I'll be honest, a few years ago when I like went a little crazy and like I went to like the psych ward because I was feeling real like, you know, one of the things that sent me there was my fucking brow bone. I was already in like a really terrible place. Like there was so much in my life that was going wrong and wasn't right. And then it was just like the camel that broke me. Was for a long time, especially in like my early parts of my transition, it just felt so helpless that my body was ever going to be what I needed it to be. And it shattered my psyche. Like completely. I was like, so I have to spend thousands of dollars to maybe hopefully get the results I want so that I can maybe feel good about myself so that other people can perceive me and then I'll perceive myself from their perception of me. It was nuts.
Wow.
And yeah, like it's stuff like that. Or it is like, you know, I constantly look in a mirror. I'm like a fucking parakeet. If there's a reflective surface by me, I am checking myself
I'm gonna take a
like,
peek.
Doing like quick little like adjustments and like sometimes it's just like a fun little like, ooh, I look good today. Like, nah.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like, especially before I go on stage or like before, you know, even like before I came down here to like film, like I was getting ready this morning and I was being like, let's just try and make sure everything looks perfect.
Yeah.
And then good. And then we're going to get in the car for an hour and a half and we're going to hope that nothing moves or shifts. And then it did and it was fine. But like it is that constant like voice in your head of being like, everyone can see this flaw about you. Everyone can see that bump.
Or that everyone can see a perceived change that is extremely subtle. Because that's what I struggle with is throughout recovery, my body has changed and now I'm like pretty stable. Like I'm at the weight I'm at, like I am who I am. But through the process, I kept thinking like I was going up or I was going down or things were happening. And I'd have to constantly ask my nutritionist like, hey, you're weighing me every week. Like, what's going on? And she's like, you're fucking fine. Like, and I'd be like, yeah, but like, my jeans were like a little bit tighter. And she's like, did you put them in the dryer? You know what I mean? And she's like, she literally said to me, she said to me one day, I can't remember what I said to her. I was like, I just feel fat. And she goes, yeah, because you have body dysmorphia. She just said it like that. And I was like, damn, Annie. Okay. I see
honestly,
you.
worth every penny.
I know. Worth every single penny.
Every fucking penny.
I love that
That's
woman.
That's the harsh slap of reality I sometimes need people to just give me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be like, you are right. Correct.
But I am curious. So this is really like weird to me. The first case of body dysmorphia, I was really curious to know, like, where did this come from? Who invented this term? It was an Italian physician named Enrique Marcelli, and he first described body dysmorphic disorder in 1891.
Okay.
I know, right?
Nice.
By using the term dysmorphophobia, defined as the fear of having a deformity, which is pretty much the same thing, but interesting that the word deformity, I think to us means something very different than like just being too big.
Well, especially in this time period where everyone was so inbred. Yeah, they all had deformities.
Like,
everyone had a weird finger, you know?
That's some of you did have a tooth in the roof of your mouth for some reason.
And it was fine. It was a simpler time. Everyone was better. That description kind of sounds like dysmorphia, but with like the dial turned all the way up to 10.
Yes.
Like the fear of like having
being so afraid that like something is like wrong with you or like something is like not human like on you.
Well, I think we see a lot of that though with like aging, you know?
Yeah.
People would rather. Didn't Kim Kardashian famously say that she would rather eat a bowl of shit if it would make her like look pretty or something?
Really?
Yeah.
Or look younger or keep her young?
Either it was like something to like make her look good, whether that was like younger
Holy
or just
cow,
beautiful. She was like,
dude.
yeah, I'd eat a bowl of poop if it would do it. And
I believe it.
That's crazy. That's insane that you would be willing to go that far. Or like, I feel like everyone now talks about like Botox and things like that, which for the record, if you want to get any sort of procedure or anything done, if you're doing it for you and just you, rock on with your bad self.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm going to be right there with you. I am not anti-cosmetics. I'm not anti-surgery. Nothing like that. But I do think it's interesting how we feel like we have to do these things because the idea of naturally aging and getting older and then getting these flaws, getting wrinkles, getting spots, getting discoloration is so terrible that we will do anything to avoid it. People will do chemical peels just to not look the age they are.
I do an at-home chemical peel once a week.
You do an at-home chemical
It's not
peel?
an actual, like, it's like this chemical peel is, I don't know why it's called that. It's like 2 little packets of wipes that you...
No, I want to hear about.
Don't look at me like that.
You're talking about doing it at home. You're
it's
like, yeah, whatever.
You wash your face, you dry your face, and then you wipe down your face with the first wipe, and then you let it set for 2 minutes, and then you take the other wipe, and then you kind of like, it like washes it off, and it's like a really exfoliating treatment. And then I do it at night, so then I can put all like my thick moisturizer on and then go to sleep, and it just makes my skin like really like soft. Chemical peel is the wrong word for it, for sure. I don't know why it's called that. Because people will do that crazy shit where their skin falls off.
Yeah, their skin, you swell up so much, and then your skin is like blistering and cracking.
And I just don't think that's actually good for it.
It can't possibly be good
unless
for
you're
it.
unless you're like you have a medical condition with your skin that you have to do that, or you have some scarring or something. I feel like that's like unnecessary.
It seems so unnecessary.
But again, to each their own. And I'm curious to know what your opinion is on this, because again, towing this weird line of like, when is it body dysmorphia and when is it self-care? Right? So for someone who's like been on a weight loss journey, is it like, am I doing this because I think my body is flawed and I'm perceiving it that way? Or am I doing it because I genuinely would feel better with my body looking different? Isn't that such a weird way to look at it?
I'll be totally honest with you. For me personally, I had to learn how to embrace both sides of that argument to make it true. I realized I couldn't just fight the dysmorphia with wishful thinking.
Yeah.
You know? And no matter how much I coached myself or anything like that, there were just going to be certain things that, until I took the action to like change them, were just always going to bother me. You know? And like, so the last year I've been getting like laser hair removal on like, my face and stuff and like all that, which is
I want to do that. Yeah, I've heard it's really bad.
Sucks though.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. It feels like getting stung by a wasp.
Oh,
like
50 million
that, like,
times.
Initial just like zap, that sensation. It's just that every second, like all over whatever part of your body you're doing. It's like, and then like afterwards, like, you know, your face is like really red and irritated. It's like, I'm sitting here like making fun of people doing like chemical peels, being like, you look horrible afterwards. But like,
you're like, I get a laser on my face every few weeks.
But like, I'm doing something within that too.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not because I'm like, I'm not afraid of the reason why I'm doing it, but I am doing it so that I will feel better about not having it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
So it's
a very weird
exactly.
gray area.
It is such a gray area, and you can't really just have one piece of that, you know, equation of like, am I doing it because the dysmorphia is telling me to do it, or am I doing it genuinely for myself and my own self-care?
Yeah. They're
so intertwined that if you do try and rationalize it one way or the other, I think you're just going to make yourself crazy.
Yeah, and I personally, like, I love living in the gray area because for so long I've had black and white thinking, which is a symptom of my eating disorder of like, I'm all in or I'm all out, whether it's I'm starving myself and losing weight or I'm like binging and gaining weight. And so living in the gray area has been really nice because I can recognize like, okay, 2 things can exist at once. We can recognize that, like, for example, like a weight loss journey, or take weight loss as a concept. We can recognize that there are people that medically need to lose weight to get to a place where their body is functioning better. There are people that lose weight because of whatever medical condition they have. There are people that want to lose weight because they want to be smaller. And there are also people that lose weight because they have an eating disorder. They have body dysmorphia, and we shouldn't be encouraging that either. But it is kind of this area of like, well, why are they doing it? And are you allowed to comment on that as someone who has been through one thing but hasn't been through the other? Yeah.
The commenting is an interesting point to bring up, though. So do you feel, with like your personal like journey with like weight loss, weight gain, all of that, did you experience like a lot of people like commenting on it one way
Yes.
or the other? Yeah, for sure.
My body has been the topic of conversation since I was 9 years old. And it's hilarious that it is now the thing that makes me money and is the topic of conversation that I am choosing to now produce as a podcast.
Exactly.
Like,
Listen,
it's kind of ironic
the way it does in the end.
But yeah, I had a lot of I had a lot of weight losses and then weight gains and then crazy cycling back and forth, which is so bad for you. But diet cycling is something that so many of us get, like, we fall into that trap because it's what we're taught to do. And I don't know any time when I've experienced a weight loss where someone hasn't commented on it. Whereas the weight gain, people don't really comment on it unless it's my mom. But then online, I think there was a time when I started comedy where maybe I was thinner and then I gained weight. I can't remember if it was like when I'd but men started commenting on the fact that like, oh, like you've gotten thicker, daddy likes or whatever. And I'm like, ew.
What about like just like in your like close social relationships, like your positive, like friends and like stuff like that? Like,
no one has really, I mean, besides my mom, no one has really said anything to me about a change in my weight specifically, unless it was maybe like there was a guy that I dated one time for a very short amount of time for like a month where I think he mentioned something to me about like, I think when we met you were like smaller, but I like you like this now. And it was weird. But other than that, no.
Interesting note.
Yeah.
Curious.
I know. He was like, I've never been with a girl who has thick thighs. I like it. I don't know why I like it. And I'm like, keep that to yourself.
What is a thick thigh? Every thigh is thick.
Yeah, what does that
mean?
mean? What are you, fucking 21-year-olds?
Sitting down
I don't
and having
understand.
your thighs like expand to like 3 times the normal size, you're not human. That's the best.
Yeah, dude. I don't understand it.
No, I ask you that because like I think it's interesting how we now, like, the comments of like whether someone is gaining weight or losing weight, people are very hesitant to do it. I think like people in like the good social circles, you know, obviously the internet is a nightmare and will always comment on anything that happens to you. But for like me personally, like with this like weight loss that I went through in the last year, I always carried my weight very well. That's like the perk of like being big is like there's a lot of space for you to just kind of expand.
It's a lot more canvas.
There's a lot more canvas to paint with.
Okay.
And so like when I did start like losing weight and like doing stuff like that, like I was noticing it, but I was like, well, no one's like really like said like, am I going crazy? And then like people would comment
so you
on
wanted people to recognize the work you were putting in.
To recognize the work I was putting in, but then I was like, is that bad? Is that
But that's
good?
the gray area,
That's
right?
the gray area of this whole thing, and that's what makes it so hard to like talk about stuff like body dysmorphia and body positivity and all of this because what's right for you and what you need to feel good is going to be different for somebody else.
Absolutely.
And it's also going to be possibly like, you know, stuff like this saying like, okay, well, maybe that's not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, are you willing to be okay with that not being okay?
Yeah. Or are you willing to
tough.
look inward enough to try to reconcile with yourself what is really going on?
Yeah.
It's so funny that we're talking about this because I posted a TikTok a few days ago where I was talking about how I personally would love to no longer receive comments about my body because it has been the topic of conversation for so long that I'm ready to take my power back. And that's why, I mean, this fucking podcast is literally called My Body, My Jokes. I get to joke about it. I get to talk about it because it's my body. And I was talking on TikTok about how since I've started recovery, my body has changed and has gotten a little bit smaller. I don't weigh myself. I'm not like allowed to weigh myself. So I don't know how much or by what, but because I was coming from a binging and restricting eating disorder, like I was heavier, I was like binge eating. And so now that I'm not, my body has settled to where it's like meant to be, which is a little bit smaller, not a lot, but people have commented on it. And like to the point where I will literally, they'll be like, oh my God, you look so good. Have you lost weight? And I'll go, I'm in recovery from an eating disorder. And then they get so pale in the face.
Exactly.
And I think it's hilarious because I'm just like trying to prove like, yeah, you shouldn't comment on shit. Because like, what if I had another medical condition? What if it was, you know what I mean? But then,
and there is like that side of things too. And you do need to be like aware of that and acknowledging it. But then it does create that hard thing of being like, well, if you know someone is like trying to either like lose weight or gain weight or anything, like, does that then make it okay for someone to comment on? Because in my case, I really loved it. I could see it for myself, and that was enough for me. But it was like Coke the first time somebody was like, have you lost weight? It took me all of 0.5 seconds to go, yes, I have. And then like you start running down the list of like, I started at this date, at this time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably not the most healthy thing. I have certainly not like overcome a lot of my like dysmorphia and like my issues and stuff like that. I also have a lot of like struggles with like binge eating and then like anorexia and like trying to do bulimia, but then being like, I don't have a gag reflex, which was really great in college.
Dude,
but, like,
same. I have
yeah.
not been able, this is so fucked up. We probably shouldn't talk about this, but I've never been able to make myself purge in that way.
I can do it. Just takes forever though.
Oh, okay. I used to abuse laxatives when I was in high school.
That's
I was
the move.
fucked up, dude. No, it was fucked up. It was so fucked up. But okay, so back to this great research. Body dysmorphia wasn't classified as a disorder until 1987. Pretty recent.
Shockingly
That's
late.
crazy. I know. By the American Psychiatric Association. So I found a quiz online.
Oh my God.
And this is like, do I have body dysmorphic disorder? Take the test to find out.
Let's do it.
So Rosalie and I are going to take this. Obviously, only a trained health professional can diagnose this. An online quiz is not going to tell you. I feel like this is the equivalent of taking like a what kind of bread are you quiz on
this
BuzzFeed.
is just a BuzzFeed quiz.
Yeah.
At this point.
And so it also says, this is really interesting. It says the questionnaire assumes that you do not have a disfigurement or a defect that is easily noticeable. So clearly, if you're someone that like is not fully able-bodied, like it's not the same thing. Okay, so let's see where this goes.
Are you going to be disappointed if we get through the end and it's like, neither of you have this?
Yeah, I am going to be pretty disappointed. I'm like, wow, I'm spending a lot of money on some bullshit.
Guess we're hanging up this podcast.
Okay. Oof. How often do you deliberately... Wow, there's already a typo. How often do you deliberately check your features, not accidentally? Please include at your... feature in a mirror, other reflective surfaces like a shop window. Oh, okay, so how often do you deliberately check your features? And the options are about 40 times a day, between 20 and 40, about 20, 10 to 20, 10, 5, 10.
I mean, putting it in numbers seems hard.
I know.
I'm going to say I'm like...
Mine's like probably like 20.
I'm going to say I'm a little more than that.
20 and 40? Let's go between 20 and 40 times a day.
Every time I walk by a reflective surface.
Yeah, it's hard.
Myself.
It's really hard not to walk by a shop window and look. Although I have
shop window, a mirror, like...
Yeah. Lately, you know what I've been doing is... I actually did it this morning when I don't know where I was walking, but... Oh, I was walking into the studio. I was walking by that guy's window. I sensed that I was being reflected in the window, and I asked myself, is looking at this important to what I'm doing right now? And I didn't look, and it was fine.
Good for you.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
I do not have that tiny voice in my head.
Well, she's very small.
Yeah.
She's very small. I'm developing her.
No, I do that exorcist neck rotation when I can sense a mirror. Where I'm just like,
I have to know what I look like. Okay, to what extent do you feel your features are currently ugly, unattractive, or not right? Jesus Christ.
Do we want to be doing this on camera?
Yes. Okay. The options, again, it's like a scale. It's like very ugly or not right, very markedly unattractive, more than moderately unattractive, and then it goes down to not at all attractive. That's interesting.
So there's no option to be...
Yeah, this is weird. Not at all attractive, all the way up to very ugly or not right. Oh, I think it's saying like, is it something that you just think is not attractive as like kind of like people just may not like it? Or is it something that's like very seemingly like a deformity, ugly, not correct on your body?
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what this would be for me. I really don't like my arms. So for me, it would be... Mine would probably be either more than moderately unattractive or markedly unattractive, which to me feel like the same thing. I don't know. Like someone looks at you and they mark it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Morgan's arms are
Or,
gross.
People need to know.
Yeah.
People need to know what's happening. I would say I'm thinking about the future I'm thinking about. I would say I'm like one above the markedly.
Okay, so let's just say very markedly unattractive. I don't understand what that means, really.
Does that just mean like not something that would sell on?
I don't know. Like maybe according to the beauty standard TM,
That's what
you know what I
kinda get
mean?
from it. Okay.
Okay, to what extent does your feature currently cause you a lot of distress? So the options all the way up to not at all distressing, middle's like moderately distressing, and then extremely distressing. These are the way that this is. Oh, okay. It goes bottom to top. So not at all distressing, not a problem, or extremely distressing. Mine's probably like in the middle somewhere, maybe like moderately or a little bit above.
I'm going to say a little bit above.
Okay. More than moderately distressing. The word choice in here I feel like is not conducive to getting an accurate result.
Yeah.
How often does your feature currently lead you to avoid situations or activities? Honestly, mine never makes me avoid it. It just gives me anxiety while I'm there.
Yeah, it gives me anxiety. I mean, we're both clearly on 2 cameras.
I mean,
right
we
now.
can't.
We didn't cancel today.
Okay,
because of anything,
okay, so I'm just gonna say never avoid.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, and then to what extent does your feature currently preoccupy you? That is, you think about it a lot and it is hard to stop thinking about it. Not at all preoccupied, all the way up to extremely preoccupied.
I'm gonna say I'm just above the middle as far as like.
Yeah. So
being on
let's
the
say
negative side of
moderately
that.
preoccupied. If you have a partner, to what? Wow, calling out the single people already.
Okay,
What
fucking-
extent does your feature currently have an effect on your relationship? Wow. If you do not have a partner, how does it affect your dating or developing a
Oh, that's
relationship?
fun.
Holy shit. Okay.
Coolsies.
Not at all the way up to extremely. I mean, luckily, my boyfriend just hates when I talk about it. It's because he's just like, you're stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm real sorry for you. That's real tough. Though,
Real
your
tough
handsome
though.
boyfriend.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll just say on behalf of the single people, it's not super severe, but it weighs on my mind a little.
Yeah, like
bit.
it wouldn't affect your like dating, going on a date or something.
It
You'd think about it?
Yeah, I would think about it, but it wouldn't make me like cancel or anything.
Oh,
it would
okay.
be something that I probably stress about for a couple of minutes before I'm like, that's not real.
Oh, okay. So let's just say more than slightly.
More than
Like
slightly, yeah.
nothing
That's
crazy.
fair.
To what extent does your feature currently interfere with your ability to work or study?
Not at all.
Or is your role as a homemaker? Wow. Who the fuck wrote this? If you're not working or studying, we're interested in your ability to work or study. Not at all.
Not at all.
I'm still gonna work. I'm still gonna do shit. Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you said, I'm going to be a
We're
little
boss
anxious about it.
bitches,
It might
yeah.
be living in the back of my head, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to not work.
okay, to what extent does it currently interfere with your social life? So going out, parties, clubs, whatever. Not at all, very severely. Mine is probably like only slightly.
Yeah.
Because I'm still
only
gonna
slightly.
go. Yeah. Okay, we
It
have
is
one
very
more.
rare that I have a day where I look in the mirror before something and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't do that. It's happened.
I've done
before.
that. That happened to me more when I was like younger,
Mm-hmm.
like when I was like in high school, and like I didn't go to homecoming because my dress didn't fit, and that was it. But other than that, it's like, okay, to what extent do you feel your appearance is the most important aspect of who you are?
I'll let you answer this one first. 'Cause
Okay,
I don't want
it says
to.
not at all, up to totally. Do you feel your appearance is the most important? I don't think it's the most important. I think I'm very intelligent and I have a lot to offer the world that has nothing to do with my appearance. But I make money off my appearance. So I would say, I would say
the
like,
tough one.
it's like slightly important for me.
I mean, I'll be honest. It's important for me.
Okay, so let's go in the middle.
Yeah.
Let's go moderately. I'm so curious to see how they word the results. You have scored 31. When you score less than 40 points, this is an indication that it is likely that you do not have body dysmorphic disorder. However, this is not a formal diagnosis. The test can also be used after treatment to see if symptoms have improved.
Wow.
Okay, so this is like...
So we're frauds.
So sorry, you've been listening to this and you didn't even know I was faking it.
I think we should be talking about imposter syndrome from here on out.
This is interesting though, because then for it to be a diagnosable disorder, it must have to be really bad. Like you can't just have moderate anxiety about the way you look. Like it must be something that is like debilitating.
You would have to be cutting off your arms, and I would have to have like a cheese grater to my forehead. I guess is for you to get the official diagnosis. You have to be that far gone, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, the thing I do like about this is at the end, it does give you like resources, whether or not you're like diagnosed or not. It tells you all about the test. It tells you who it was developed by, which these are all male names.
Of course.
So that's cool. Journal of Plastic Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgery. It was developed by them for that journal specifically.
Okay. So now knowing that though, wouldn't it make sense for them to make it so that you quote unquote pass this test?
Wait, holy shit.
So that you can rationalize getting your surgeries then?
I feel like a sleuth right now because
what are you finding?
The journal that they developed this quiz for is called The Development of a Cosmetic Procedure Screening Questionnaire for Body Dysmorphic Disorder. So it's like there's no abstract. Okay, yeah. Oh, it's an article, not a journal, sorry.
So that you can get that surgery.
Yeah. That is crazy, man.
Yeah, that I don't think that. And again, please go to an actual doctor or like therapist, psychiatrist, anyone with a real degree and a beating heart if you want any of this stuff like for real.
There are resources in the show notes of this episode, and I'll say it at the end, but I'll say it now. The bddfoundation.org/support has a ton of resources for wherever you are in the world. If you feel like you're suffering from body dysmorphia or if you feel like you need to be diagnosed, they have a ton of resources, bddfoundation.org/support. So
learn from us. Don't just do one quiz and run wild with it. Do your research.
Although I am going to tell my therapist that I'm healed now. So it is going to be fine.
Oh yeah, get away with it.
So that being said, I wanted to talk to you about like how body dysmorphia shows up currently. Because we already kind of talked about this, how like it's a phrase that we all use. You know what I mean? Like I've used it. All of my friends have used it. I've heard many people as soon as they kind of start to complain about their body, they're like, I don't know, I have body dysmorphia. It's like a throwaway term. And you know what's interesting is it was actually mentioned in a lawsuit against TikTok that is brewing.
Okay.
Yeah. So a ton of states, I think it's like 6 states is suing TikTok for its addictive qualities and effects on children, which one of them listed as body dysmorphia. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
And I think, too, it's just like, I wonder. No, it's like a very current lawsuit. Okay, yeah. Wow. 13 states.
Damn.
Yeah, including New York and California and DC.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty like legit states. And then a lot of southern states, but like also Oregon. I don't know why I'm listing those. Those are the good states.
And then there's the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense though.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I have my theories about like social media and like filters and things like that. I will die on this hill. I believe that like phone cameras and like the Snapchat camera and like all of that, I believe it is actually designed to make you look worse than you really do.
You think so?
So that you will use
a filter? Oh, wow.
Because I swear to God, there are times I will look at myself in the mirror and be like, that is the hottest bitch I've ever seen in my entire life. And then in the same position, in the same lighting, I will take out my phone, open up Snapchat, have that front camera, and that is a pig. That is a monster looking back at me.
Wow.
That is me looking at my friend being like, do you see this pig in my phone? Isn't that funny?
Steve Jobs is rolling in his grave right now.
Exactly.
He's like, I invented this fucking great phone just for someone to shit on it 10 years later.
And I absolutely will shit on it. I will pull my britches down and shit on this fucking phone. I fully believe
it does have a forced perspective,
exactly,
like lens or whatever. So it's not
like the lens and like ratios and things like that. And like, you know, I believe that those things can be set up and like programmed in a certain way to give you that image so that, again, you will use the filter.
Yeah.
Because then sometimes I'll just use like the most neutral, like camera ready filter or whatever. And that looks more like what I'm seeing in the mirror than what I'm seeing in my phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you get shame if you use filters or anything like that because like, oh, we're using filters. And it's like,
I know.
Yeah, because this other version of me isn't real. That's not
the same
who
person.
I am.
The other thing that I think is really important to note about like the kind of online promotion of like body trends, especially on TikTok, is that a lot of it is like really centered around like Eurocentric beauty standards. It's very anti-black. It's very anti-LGBTQ. It's very like heroin chic, but you have to be white and you have to have light hair and like there's kind of no. We're going back to this beauty standard that happened in like the early 2000s that we're now kind of like, well, what about everyone else? But now it's like, well, no, like we still have body positivity, but for those of us that want to be toxic, like we're going to be toxic.
Like we're going to keep doing it.
It's really weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah. I've been getting really angry at TikTok lately because there's this trend going around that's like, it'll be like a bunch of text on the screen and someone just like a video of them doing something and it'll be like, I'm a size 2, but she's a size 8 and she's actually happy with her body and she has a good relationship with food. And I'm like, so
awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. So like, okay, so are you flexing that you're a size 2? Do you want me to feel bad for you? Why are you acting like a size 8 is bad? Like, what the fuck?
Are you
it's insane.
Of the person that's size 8?
It's because
I mean, I think that I get that. I am so fascinated by people that are just totally comfortable in their skin. No matter if they are big, small, or whatever.
I'm jealous.
It's so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, that just doesn't take up any part of your brain, does it? And I'm like, no.
And they just live their life. And they're just happy.
Their life, no matter who they are.
What must that be like?
What is that like?
Yeah.
What is that like to never think about counting a calorie? Or not like having to rationalize, you know, wearing a certain shirt or something, or having to like fix your like what is that like? That must be so freeing.
So mystical.
And then it's worse when they're like that, but then they're also naturally really hot because I'm like, well, that's just too much.
Oh,
you can't have everything.
You got the good stick.
You have
got
too much.
It.
Naturally, just like conventionally attractive people who are just like unbothered by this stuff and like don't really ever think about it or try.
Yeah.
They should be put down. Honestly, we need to round them up. I can't.
Oh my God.
You have too much power.
You have too much power. I know.
They don't even know it. They have like 85% of their brain that
I
don't.
You're using a lot of that brain.
I'm using a lot
Mine's
of my
just
brain
rotting
power
in my
to
skull.
slowly critique myself to death.
Okay, so I got a few questions on Instagram for the pod that I'd love to answer. Every once in a while, I'll put an option for people to ask a question on my Instagram story. So if you ever want to ask a question for the pod, you can always follow me at Morgan Lorraine Gallo. Or if you're more of an email person, you can always email your thoughts, opinions, dreams, hopes, whatever, to mybodymyjokespod, P-O-D, @gmail.com. So always open. The inbox is open. Whatever you have burning questions or thoughts, or you want to just say something stupid, feel free to. So the first question is, are there any affirmations you personally use on days that body dysmorphia is especially bad? What do you think, Rosalie?
Trying to think.
For me...
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, for me, and I've been learning this. This isn't something that I'm an expert at, but something that I continue to repeat to myself is I am not my body. And it seems really simple, but I take it to this kind of deep place where I almost get like existentially morbid with it, where I'm like, I am a soul that was brought to earth for whatever reason, and this is just the vessel I'm in for right now. So I am literally not my body. I am a brain inside of a skull, inside of a meat sack. You know what I mean? Like I get really weird with it, but that's something I tell myself when I'm having a bad body day is I am not my body.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that, sometimes you really do just, again, you have to take the piss out of it a little
bit. Yeah.
And really almost separate yourself a little bit. I will say for me personally, whenever I'm having like really bad dysmorphia or anything like that, I have to remind myself that I'm like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
This thing that I have just happens to turn every mirror into a funhouse mirror. But that's not
it's not real. Yeah.
At all. Maybe today it's real. Maybe today that's what I'm seeing in the mirror.
Yeah.
But normally that is not the case. That is not how I actually look. That is not how people perceive me. This is just it's a filter. It's an unflattering filter that today I'm going to have, but tomorrow could be totally different.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes to believe yourself when you say those kinds of affirmations to yourself, because
lie to yourself
you're
until
like,
you believe it.
you're just like, well, but it is real. It feels real, and it's like, yeah, it might feel real, but it doesn't mean it is.
It can be real today.
Yeah,
it's not going to be real. It may not be real tomorrow. It won't be real forever, and it certainly wasn't real in your entire past. You know?
It developed.
You really just have to like learn how to be okay being in that moment, and if it's an uncomfortable moment, just know that it will eventually end.
Yeah, and I think personifying the voice is really helpful. Like,
yeah, give it a name.
Yeah, for me, I kind of switch between like, I know that a lot of my eating disorder thoughts come from my mom and what she told me about my body growing up. So I think of like, sometimes I'm like, no, I have to get Susan out of my head. Like, Susan's in my head right now, and that's like not me. Or I think of it when specific to body dysmorphia, I'm like, oh, my eating disorder is trying to get me to come back really bad because he misses me. You know what I mean? It's like breaking up with someone. So personifying the voice and realizing that it's not actually you is also very helpful if the affirmation thing isn't your kind of jam.
Yeah, because affirmations, I mean, I think they're great. I think sometimes they can be like corny, and that like,
they feel really corny
from it. But yeah, like you were saying, if you can personify it, if you can make it personal to you and really view it as having a conversation with yourself, but just a part of yourself, I think that is kind of the trick that you have to learn how to do. Yeah. Because ultimately, I feel there is no way that you ever 100% like beat this, you know? And that's like that's the really
it
tough
gets
thing.
better.
It gets better.
Recovery is lifelong though. Like, the voice might slip back. You just have to know that it's not yours.
Exactly.
Because thoughts aren't always like, they're just thoughts. It's not like a reflection of who you are or what you actually, you know what I mean? I don't know why I'm like, do you know what I mean, Rosalie, when we're talking to this random person?
Voice in my head?
This is funny because we were just talking about this. The last question is, as you've gone through your journey with body dysmorphia, do you find yourself avoiding or embracing mirrors?
I mean, I embrace them. I love it. I mean, listen, I can't deny, on the days where I feel really good about myself, I want to see it. I want to see what
if you're wearing a cute outfit.
Like, I want to see what I'm letting other people have. And then I feel like such a good person because I'm like, damn, everyone just gets to take this in. Yeah. Good for them. Yeah. Aren't they so lucky?
I'm kind of the same way, where I think now that I've done the work to get to a point where I feel more comfortable in my skin, I definitely like to look in the mirror and like admire my outfit or admire whatever. I do avoid mirrors if I know I'm having a bad day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like if I wake up and I know immediately that I'm about to have a bad body day or something triggered me, I kind of like put this expectation in my brain of like, okay, today's like not a mirror day. Today's like not a day that we're gonna like go and sit in front of the mirror. Or like this morning I was looking at a bunch of headshots that Nick had taken of me at High Plains, and I started like critiquing myself in my head of being like, oh my God, my skin, look, whatever. And then I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do this. And I like threw my phone on the couch. So sometimes you just have to like interrupt yourself.
You do. You have to interrupt yourself. You have to, again, remind yourself, this is just for today. Yeah. You know, today,
or even just this minute or this hour. Like sometimes it's not even all day.
Yeah. Just allow yourself to be wherever you are. Yeah. You know? And then also give yourself permission to stop yourself from going down certain paths that you don't want to do anymore. Yeah. You know? And yeah, just coaching yourself through it, throwing the phone across the room when you don't want to be looking at it.
Scream into a pillow.
Or, if you have a day where you wake up and in your head, you overnight somehow magically gain 20 pounds. And you're like, well, I was going to wear this outfit, but I'm not going to feel confident in that outfit. Then don't wear that outfit.
Yeah, don't wear the outfit.
Wear something else.
Yeah.
You probably have a ton of clothes. Just pick a different
Just do something else. Opposite action of what you were thinking.
Yeah. Recorrect, course correct. Do whatever. Just get through it. And I promise you, it will eventually subside again. That little voice in the back of your head will get quiet again. You just have to learn how to survive when it's there and also how to put it back in the box. That's it.
Put it back in the box.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
There is no magical affirmation or word or anything that anyone can really give you that is going to 100% take care of this. Doesn't matter how many times people tell you you're beautiful. Doesn't matter how many times people tell you you're ugly. At the end of the day, it's just you in here. You have to learn how to control your chaos. Like, you have to.
Yeah. Well, I hate to wrap this up. I feel like this has been such a good conversation, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I'm really excited to kind of like see where everything goes with you, and I'm excited to watch you do more comedy. I think you're amazing.
I'm happy to be back. I think it's gonna be
Again, of course, if you need resources, please, please, please do not hesitate to visit bddfoundation.org/support. They have a ton of resources. You can always message me. You can always email me to ask for stuff. I am not a medical professional, so I can only help you find other resources, but I'm always here for moral support. And you can find Rosalie at OMG Hi Rosalie.
OMG Hi Rosalie on all platforms.
Yeah. And so thank you for listening to this episode. Remember that your body is not a temple. It's an amusement park. Enjoy the ride. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to My Body, My Jokes. Please be advised that the information provided in this podcast is for general discussion purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always, always, always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional with any concerns you might have regarding the topics discussed in today's episode. Also, if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, please call the National Eating Disorders Association helpline at 1-800-931-2237. Bye.